investments and pivots during pandemic, BioTech and MedTech. And I have our honorable speakers today representing the investor community. It's Kondek, General Partner at Global Blockchain Ventures, Massimiliano, Sulpizi, Founder and Managing Partner at HSMI-Corporate Advisory, Joanne, Hackett, General Partner Healthcare at IZY Capital, Ashish, Mittal, Founder and Chief Mentor at TurningIdeas Ventures, Sharon, Managing Partner at Vault 18th Ventures, Neha, Tanna, Principal at Joyance Partner, Telly, Valerie, Co-Founder and Chief Governance Officer at Beyond Capital Markets, Choi, Director of Marketing at White Lake Strategic Advisory Group, and Anndy, Lian, Inter-governmental Blockchain Advisor and Chairman for Asia at Decent Foundation. Our participants for pitch competition in the second half of the events include Badi Oliver, CMO at SableAssent, and Dr. Saiful Khandaker, Founder and CEO at Fama Cash. So we start with a brief introduction of our investor participants, and I will give each of you a word to briefly introduce yourself and your companies. Sharon, could you please join our panel discussion with a brief intro on yourself?
Hi, I'm Sharon, and I am from Vault 18 Ventures. We are based in Kuala Lumpur. What we do is we actually are more like an advisory that connects the startups that are scaling up to institutional investors. So that's basically what Vault 18 is about. Yes.
Thank you, Sharon. And Sierra?
First of all, thank you to Valentine and Dimitri for having me as part of this panel, and also thank you to Elena for coordinating this event, and Nadia for moderating. So I'm Sierra Choi, Director of Marketing and Senior Analyst at the White Lake Advisory Group based in the UK. I'm currently coming live to you from South Korea. So we primarily work with startups to gain traction, and as an advisory, help them secure capital. In the past, we've worked with companies in the energy, fintech, and biotech sectors, and my specializations are in marketplaces, education, biotech, and medtech. My colleague also works with a 50 million private fund that invests in late-stage companies that have at least an annual revenue of 10 million.
Thank you, Sarah. And Dita?
Yeah, good morning from Florida. I'm the general partner of Global Blockchain Ventures. We are a blockchain-focused venture fund and investing in blockchain-enabled application in healthcare, IoT, AI, and other. So my partners and I, our background is we have been executive in the corporate world. So I work at IBM, Mittal, and Tech Data. My partners work for Disney and NASA. And so we are engaged in the blockchain space since 2019. In healthcare, we have written a book, which we announced last year, Blockchain in Healthcare, with 50 co-authors, announced it at HIMSS. I'm also a founder and managing partner of Merging Minds International, which is a global market accelerator for European companies who want to enter the US market. And yeah, that's a background, and today we want to discuss the very critical phase where we are all in with the corona infection, and how does it shake up the investment landscape and the startup in healthcare. Thank you.
Thank you, Dieter. And Andy?
Hi, I'm Andy Lian from Singapore. I usually base myself overseas in Japan and South Korea, but right now, I'm based in Singapore because of the COVID. So on a more personal basis, I'm actually an intergovernmental advisor. So we give advice to government on a personal basis and also on a more intergovernmental level. So I give advice to 22 countries, and we look at how we implement blockchain. And on the side, I'm a private investor that has been placing a lot of different funds and companies together for the past 10 years. And for the last 3 to 4 years, we have been very active in the blockchain circle. MedTech, supply chain, IoT, and so forth. I am also the chairperson for Descent Foundation, a company that is set up in 2015 that provides a lot of different blockchain solution in the European market. And happy to meet all of you.
Thank you, Andy. And Massimiliano?
Hi, this is Max. Massimiliano is too long, understand, so Max is perfect. I mean, I'm the founder and managing director of HSMI. We are private equity, M&A, and venture capital boutique. So we are pretty much agnostic, and we work on behalf of many startups worldwide. I'm an angel, again, investing broadly in all sectors from hardware to software. As we are now setting up our venture capital fund and with a healthcare division, we are very focused on understanding how the biotech, life science, healthcare more broadly, and medtech are evolving, because we want to deploy at least 20–30% of the fund in this sector. And that's it.
Thank you, Max. And John?
Thank you. I'm Joanne Hackett. I'm here representing IZY Capital. I'm the general partner for healthcare. We're an advisory and private equity firm, and we really believe in the founders. So we spend a lot of time becoming partners with the people that we support, helping them raise capital, as well as doing a bunch of advisory work. And for us, what we're seeing now in the market, which we'll get to discuss today, is some really creative ways that people are thinking either about repurposing technology or doing something completely different. And I think the exciting thing is looking at individuals who come up with great ideas and help them bring them to success. And so we specialize in partnering with individuals who really want to take their dreams and make them a reality.
Thank you, John. And Ashish?
Good evening from India. My name is Ashish Mittal, and I'm the founder CEO for TurningIdeas Ventures. We are an early stage fund and a venture studio. So broadly, what we help is partner with founders and co-build with them. So massive talent in India. So the objective is we get onto with the founders, do the ideation, validation, and help them create the first set of MVPs or prototypes which can be funded. Apart from actually putting the money, we are basically domain agnostic, but we pretty much work a lot on health tech and med tech businesses globally. So a lot of global founders reach out to us for partnering with the product development as a venture studio.
Thank you, Ashish. And Neha?
Yeah, hi. Oh, hi, everyone. My name is Neha. I work for Joyance Partners. I'm an investment partner at Joyance Partners. We invest in the US, Europe, and Asia. Our sole focus is the science and technology of health and happiness. I'm an MD by background and spent many years in the clinical and life sciences background. We're an early stage investment firm, so we make maybe 1 to 2 investments a month, and we focus on everything from life sciences, food and drink, water, energy, anything with a strong scientific background.
Thank you. Telly? Okay, we'll go to the first round of questions. And the first question to all of you would be, are there recent cases of investments on your side or something you would like to share? Andy?
Hi, sorry, I'm just unmuted myself. So I think recently there are a lot of companies coming forth to us, basically on 2 fronts. One would be more on the games industry. I sort of shared this some weeks back at a similar event. The other one would be more of medical. So far we have people coming to us, looking at investment related to medtech, and I think one of the more immediate companies that we will put our own money in is something to do with telehealth. This is quite an old industry or something that's not very new. but in the eye of investors like myself and my group of friends, we actually see this as something that we could implement this very fast. So this again goes back to the background where I started from about 8 years ago. I started off investing into traditional medical related businesses. So we own clinics, we own like physiotherapy therapy clinics and so forth in Singapore and in Hong Kong. And we realized that, you know, during times like COVID-19, where a lot of these clinics are deemed as non-essential, I'm not sure why, but in the longer run and so forth, you know, where we are not sure how long this whole virus or pandemic is going to last us, you know, we are looking at other ways to help some of these patients or users in terms of you know, getting good medical advice. So one of the companies that we will put our own money in will be on a more telehealth related. And also at the same time, we are working with a couple of other vendor in Singapore to provide some remote healthcare services and some you know, urgent, more essential medical services that doctors can actually go to their home and premises to give some sort of a treatment. So I think for us is fairly straightforward. You know, as an investor, we want to see some good money churning out from these current times, and we have been very practical in a lot of our approach in terms of investing into companies. You know, we have been looking at quite a number of other businesses as well, but at the end we are just trying to be more practical, saving a lot of our own bullets and putting our money into places that we think that we could excel faster as compared to a lot of other businesses who came to us, you know, and that's how that's one of the latest investment that is medical related that is on our table right now. So we are going through the due diligence work. We are also going through a lot of all those different prospecting that they have told us about. So to us, you know, it's quite a good go ahead, and we love to be angel because you know, we put in a good amount of money to get back a better return if possible, you know, from startups that are very much inspired by their own mission and also very passionate to push some of their ideas across. And another thing that I want to also put forth is that the reason why we also want to invest into their platform is because that platform itself is free from doctors. So a lot of all these ideas and so forth comes from users, patient, and of course, business person. You know, they see this more from a business aspect, and they do not want a lot of other really strong medical professional to come in and give advice, because when they come into the picture and invest or you know, give advice, there's always a chance of a conflict of interest. So the reason why we pick them out of the 7 projects that is already on the table is because they are very much independent and they have a very clear route to, you know, for us in terms of investor getting our investment back. So that's what I want to share, man.
Thank you, Andy. Sharon, would you share your case?
Yeah. So basically what we've done is actually we just completed the deals that we were looking into in 2019 that flow over to 2020. And then when the pandemic hit, we took a step back just to evaluate the situation and to see like what are the companies that actually needed help and whether the founders had a longer runway and things like that. We also watched the other markets as well. Our colleagues in China and in the US both reported that investments globally for the first quarter, this is statistics from May 25th, just this week, 30% of the investments has not, comparatively to 2019, the same quarter, investments are down by 30%. So having said that, I think we also spoke to, as an advisory, we spoke to quite a number of other investors in the market as well, and trying to gauge what directions are people heading to. Are they, stopping investments in things like transportation or hotels and things like that, because this is the hardest hit industry. And are they like pivoting to look into other industries? So yeah, I think in the very hard hit industries, a lot of people are looking to see how they're going to adapt to the new norm. And there's a lot of interest in medtech and biotech, because this is something that is in the forefront, and every single investor wants to see how they can help, and of course, how do they make money out of it. So there are quite a number of startups, I may say, that have kind of pivoted in that sense to sort of, there's like a healthcare startup which they were doing home testing kits and stuff like that. So they pivoted and they have started to scale up productions of COVID-19 test kits instead. So these are the companies that in the almost immediate future that we wanted to be part of, so that we'll be able to catch on with what's going on in the market. And the other thing that I actually wanted to point out is actually being investors themselves. I know there's quite a number of VCs who actually has closed their fundraising round with the LPs that they were talking to in 2019, and they basically closed either in December or in January of this year. And when the pandemic hit, they just kind of like said that we have to be very careful with how we invest, because everything is changing. People's lifestyle is changing as well. So most of them are working very closely with the founders, supporting them in terms of helping them relook into their business models and things like that. At the same time, they are still kind of like sitting on what we call the dry powder. They're not investing anything. And among ourselves, we have been discussing that when would be the right time. So nobody could really say when the right time is, because nobody knows what's going to happen next. But like right now, when most of the economies around the globe are starting to open up, I think a lot of investors will start looking into deal sourcing, the newer deals, and probably by August, like the third quarter of this year, they can't sit on the dry powder for too long, so they have to start investing. And I think a lot of things will be, if you're looking at a fund, how do you say that? Like a fund mandate, probably the mandate would have changed, because a lot of things that they thought were going to be profitable may not be profitable anymore. So they would probably look into things that are relevant, and what's in the new lifestyle of the people, and what's the new norm. Yeah, so in that sense, I think, yeah, that sums up what I wanted to say. What are the investments that we have looked at? There's also another thing, like we were actually looking into the investments of a data center, which uses AI and supercomputers back in 2019. And we were closing this deal, and they had to pivot as well, even though that their business model were very good in the sense that they were building supercomputers in the data center. But most of it were now used to research in biotech researches and things like that, rather than what they initially were planned for. Yeah, so these are some of the changes that we see happens in the startup right now. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Sharon. And Dita, would you also share if there are recent cases of investments?
Sure. At GBW, and also together with our partners, we are focusing on global collaboration. So we are partnering with a lot of global ecosystems in the healthcare space. And based on our background that we are living in the US, but come from Europe and other places, we have to get the highest return for our investors and the most value for our startups. We connect and collaborate startups with corporates, because we are all serial entrepreneurs and corporate executives, so we have the possibility to get to high-level people at corporates, which could be an exit in the future, but also could get innovation from our startups to get pilot installation. So some of the, and then we like to connect with other healthcare VCs and ventures. And so one of our partners just announced and started a new healthcare fund in Europe, which will be about 100 to 150 million euros. They are based in Germany and Switzerland and focus on healthcare. And we are then taking the investments from Europe and have two partners. One is in China and one is in, we are representing the US and bring and help the startups to scale after they, of course, have created traction in the home markets and scale then to the US and to China. And this is what we like to build global companies, even out of Europe. So our latest investment in GBV is Consensus Health. Consensus is a spin-off of Consensus, which is the largest digital health ecosystem for the Ethereum platform. So one of the founders is a founder and CEO, has been at Consensus, and we put a spin-off together to build a very large ecosystem for healthcare. And we invested during the Corona virus pandemic situation. We are also partnering and connect two big healthcare digital healthcare ecosystems. In one of the biggest in Europe healthcare clusters, Medical Valley, headquartered in Germany, surrounded by corporates for IoT medical devices, which they collaborate, but there are research partners, there are universities, there are hospitals, and we connect them with our own medical cluster here in Florida, which is a medical city in Orlando, which is also connected to the Space Coast for healthcare in space in the future, and then also to Tampa. And we collaborate these two clusters and help them to get together with universities, research, corporates like Siemens and others, pharmaceuticals, and foster and invest in healthcare innovations to fix global problems. So we think that's a powerful setup and it's necessary. And so the corporates, as we all know, they need innovation because most of the big corporates are not innovate anymore. And we bring, and the startups which we invest in and which we support, they need customers, they need larger hospitals for their pilots. And this way we can get the best out of two worlds. So we think we get a lot of applications at the moment during and after the Corona from total new world. And there was a nice article, one from a guy in, I think it was from Pittsburgh, writing about that the whole digital health will move into, he called it the healthcare Amazon moment. So telehealth is huge, and this is why we like Florida, because as you know, we not only have the most older population 6 months of the year in the winter time when they move all from the north to Florida and gather in their retired communities, and during Corona, nobody could get out. So we have a community in North of Orlando with 50,000 people living there, 65 and up. So telehealth will be a big where we will invest in looking at the best potential customer, client, startups. We think that virtual care will be big, supported with AI and other technologies. And this is where we are looking at the moment. So we just brought a company from England to the US, company called Vitabeam. They have created a system where, as we all know, there's a lot of food waste, and food is when you go to a big retail store or fresh food, or even in food plants, there's a lot of waste because of bacteria and mold. So this guys from England startup has created a system where we get all the bacteria out of the food, and the food can be 2 or 3 days longer on the shelf. So this kind of innovations we like. So we get companies out of Switzerland, from Italy, from France, from Germany in the moment, which we are analyzing on-demand diagnostics for atrial fibrillation, included with wearables. We get companies who are creating very small portable CT scanners. We have a company from Finland who has a pre-diagnostic diabetes prevention and using thermal imaging technology. So a long list. And as we are a young fund, we have to invest our money. And the trend is that the bigger fund are watching their portfolio companies and look, what do they have to invest to follow on investments? But the young funds, and I saw that we have about 10 to 50 new funds started the last 12 months, which are 150, 200 million out of Europe, different areas, but most of them are also looking at healthcare. And they all have to invest because our investors and LPs expect from us that we invest their money, not keep it in the bank. So that's good. It's a time for young funds. Thank you.
Thank you, Dieter. And Max, could you also share the cases of your recent investments?
Sure. I mean, I think talking about healthcare, medtech, medical devices, life science, biotechnology, I mean, we are living probably the most fascinating time ever. We are speeding technology so much, where we take in 1 year, we're doing what probably could be done in 20 years. And there are sectors which I'm looking very closely, which is, for example, telemedicine, all technology applying to, which is old-fashioned, how, to talk about, for example, talk about general medicine. We still go to the doctor. We still need to get out from home, regardless of COVID. This kind of stuff, for me, makes no sense anymore. But you should be able taking your device and talking to your doctor 24 hours. And I do believe, for example, that there are part of part of the medicine and even general medicine where we can absolutely doing with AI, machine learning. So, and this is very fascinating. I mean, I love it because we can somehow democratize the health, that it's very important. And also when it comes to biotechnology, for example, I mean, I'm an angel, I'm not doing any bio investment now. Also because, biotechnology, it's very capital intensive. So, you know that, if you start today, you have a lot of money to follow up with this guy. But we've been talking about vaccine for the last 3 months. Every day when I wake up in the morning, we talk about vaccine. And what really fascinating me now is the RNA technique. And why? Because again, this kind of investment takes forever. If one day, we should pay attention a lot to this kind of stuff. If one day we can create an RNA vaccine where it can be universal vaccine, we have done the job. We don't need to spend any more 10 years, millions, billions. And of course, we're losing life because anytime we are late, we lose millions of life. There is nothing to do. And COVID is just an example. So COVID taught us a lot. We are behind the curve, much behind, where we are very much behind the curve. And we need to speed up. We need to create something that, a vaccine that, is not needed to pollute your body. Actually, your body is going to react and find a solution. This is unbelievable. When I start researching for RNA, I was astonished. I couldn't even believe that you can give a signal to your body and your cells can create a vaccine by themselves. This, I was absolutely, wow, what's this? And I'm not a scientist. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a financial guy. So I've been spending all my life in finance, M&A, private equity. And when I moved to venture capital, it's been something great for me. Finance is doing almost the same stuff every day. Yes, you can merge company, you can buy, sell, but it's pretty simple. When it comes to venture capital, it's much more fascinating. This is where today, yes, it's very sad because too many people are dying. But in terms of technology and technology applying to medicine, healthcare, whatever it is, it's unbelievable. And I've seen so many projects in my life. Of course, for me, as I said to all the founders, sometimes maybe it's rude, but for me, it's my opinion. But for me, it is what I'm standing for. Ideas are simple. You can wake up in the morning, have 10 ideas, and We have millions idea, but I know maybe 1% succeed, 99% fail because it's said to everyone, your idea is nothing if you don't have the right execution. So, but yes, I mean, I'm seeing so many ideas, it's almost impossible to evaluate all of them. So you need to say no to many, only just for start talking. But yeah, I mean, I do believe we can't waste this time. We as an investor, also as an advisor, we should give this guy the right advice and invest in the right people that can deliver. If you don't have the right team, I mean, you can have the greatest idea in the world. You're not delivering anything. And if you don't have enough money, again, you can be the smartest guy in the world. You are not going to deliver anything because you don't have enough money. You can twist, you can change, you can't do anything. That's the point. And as I said, told the guy, that's a great idea, but if you don't have enough cash in your account, then you can start changing and adapting your business model, which can be written and followed, but has to be changed probably on monthly basis. You can't go anywhere. This is why the big guys succeed, because they have too much money and they can make a lot of mistakes and still surviving. Amazon, Uber, all these guys. But coming back to medtech and biotechnology, yes, I mean, hope we can start investing in 2021. COVID has been quite tough in terms of fundraising, very tough. We had to stop completely for 3 months. But I decided to create the venture capital fund because I'm very much in healthcare, and I do believe investment can be just invest the money, get 3-5 times, and that's it. Again, it's not simple, but it's not enough. For me, for example, we decided to invest 20-25% of the fund in healthcare, 20-25% of the fund in e-learning, all comes to education. Because I do believe if you invest in healthcare, you give back to the people, regardless. If you invest in e-learning, you give back to the people, because I do believe we need, in any way, to democratize health, and education. Yeah, that's it, what I'm doing. I'm talking to a lot of guys. I'm not investing as an angel now because I'm still watching and see. It has been a very tough time for 3 months, and we need to understand where the market is going. And also, when it comes to biotechnology and med tech and telecommunication, delivering medicine, I mean, they are all absolutely overvalued for me, because yes, today, this guy, they're getting 20, 30, 40, 50% up valuation. We are trading 15, 20 times revenue. This is absolutely too much. Also because we don't know where we're going. So if you're investing today with a market cap twice, maybe next year the bubble is going down and will bust a little bit, and you don't have enough done. So yeah, it's a very fascinating time in terms of investment. I do love it, although I'm still home and locked down here in London, beautiful city. I can't see anything now. And yeah, I mean, I'm very positive in terms of where we are going. But of course, we've done nothing, and we need to do a lot with helping this guy and investing in the right guy, because that's the point. We need to invest where are the right funders, and not only the right idea.
Thank you, Max. And Telly, could you please introduce yourself and share with us some recent cases of investments on your side as well?
Hi, I'm Taliano. I'm actually based in St. Kitts and Nevis, so I guess I'm the only one here from the Caribbean. So I represent 2 firms, Beyond Capital Markets, which is a digital market financial alternative investment company focused on digital assets and specifically financial market infrastructure. And then I'm also the managing director for ProHouse Labs based in Miami. It's fintech and wellness incubator. So my role, what we're seeing now, especially in the area of alternative investment, obviously in the last three months, ever since the pandemic, we had already started focusing a lot in the area of wellness and different tech around wellness. So we already started to see a trajectory and an emergence of solutions that sort of solve problems, and a lot of the solutions end up kind of intersecting with finance. So a lot of insurtech applications, which is needed. And then we've also started, ever since the pandemic, we started getting requests for people, companies who are doing contact tracing, especially. And very specifically, there's really an opportunity in a little bit more R&D, but around the area of testing. So these are the trends we've started seeing. Our focus really, we have managed funds. So Pro House Labs has an incubator fund. And then we've also started looking at incorporating as alternative investors, incorporating private debt as well. What we've seen is a lot of companies still have, while they've received investments, they still need a little bit of runway in order to grow faster. And venture debt seems to be an emerging area. So we've partnered with a number of insurance firms to actually provide that sort of capital. My background, I'm a digital economist, and over 19 years I've been involved in digital financial transformation. I'm also in the area of finance. I'm also a climate finance specialist, and I have an undergrad in medical sciences. So I kind of have a more appreciation of what we're kind of facing and what we're going through, and what the projections for what the landscape is for the future. Focus really is a lot in, well, a lot of people have been focused around identification. I don't think there has really been an emphasis on how to really work with medical records. So we've seen, in the last year or so, we see a lot of companies trying to deal with the issue of decentralizing medical records. But for whatever reason, they haven't really looked across the value chain. So I think there's still a lot more done. And so we find in this space, working also as an incubator is actually an opportunity for them to continually search their models. I hear what Massimiliano was saying is that, without finance, it's really hard for them to kind of move. But at the end of the day, they still have a lot more R&D to do, and they need to have room to fail. So these are areas we're working in our space. And we're working across with service with different companies, not just in barely even in the Caribbean. It's more, there are no more North American, European companies, and a lot of startups also emerging out of Africa as well.
Thank you, Telly and Ashish.
So I think these are the most interesting times for us. We being a developing nation with 1 billion plus people, I think suddenly we've been very focused on healthcare, medtech, biotech investments. Right now, we kind of engaging in 2 or 3 broad areas considering the pandemic situation, which include things like remote healthcare, telemedicine, contactless diagnostics, massive population in the country. And we are looking for innovations, in fact, global innovations, not only focused on India, specific innovations, global startups who can actually solve challenges around how can we provide very, very cost-effective telemedicine capabilities to doctors, as well as the remote locations which have a fairly low internet penetration or low bandwidth infrastructures. Apart from that, I think diagnostics have been becoming a very, very interesting space, not only from the COVID standpoint, but right now, as we speak, we're evaluating startup in the contactless diagnostic space, which is talking about how can you actually share radiology reports through cloud and very, very fast rather than actually taking the reports from one physician to other, getting second opinions fairly fast across the globe. So I think those are the 2 or 3 clear areas which we've seen massive traction. There's a massive interest from the government side also in how can we solve this large population challenges around remote preventive medicine, remote monitoring of health, which includes both COVID and non-COVID scenarios. The way I think the way we're evaluating investments right now is clearly not getting any immediate returns. I think our time frames have, we kind of reframed it. Now the investments are clearly 3 to 5 years. That's the lens which we are looking most of the new ideas or the new startups with. As we are a venture studio as well, so we work very closely with the global startups in building or co-building the product. So a lot of our domain knowledge and very, very India specific problems, the issues we've been trying to build together with them, validate with the hospitals, validate with government, some of those scenarios. If you ask me, some of our investments, I think we've not written any checks in last few months, considering the COVID situation. But clearly, I think what we believe is because some of our existing portfolio investments really needed support in terms of the runway. And as Telly mentioned, we kind of opening up for some of the debt syndication to actually give them enough runway so that they can actually traverse these times too. But having said that, I think what we're seeing is, and that's what we helping the current portfolio company and the new startups too, is with the fact saying that we have a supply chain investment on the last mile delivery. So can we actually leverage them and match them with maybe a pure diagnostic solution? And can they actually marry together and create a last mile contactless diagnostic solution for remote corners of the country? So I think those are the kind of innovations. So a lot of collaboration, a lot of matchmaking is happening as we speak, not within our portfolio, but we kind of opening out and going out globally. And this is probably to all the speakers and the panelists as well. If you have any investment which is kind of looking to scale with a very large number, billion plus people in this country, test out and scale the products, we're more than happy to actually get them into the India or this part of the world. But beyond that, I think what will be, and I sincerely think that this is a time of collaboration. So how can we actually help each other or our portfolio companies? Can we create more value by collaborating with each other or collaborating on the solutions area of our investments so that they can sustain, they can scale these times too? So that's a quick summary of our investment style. I think as we speak, we are still in the due diligence. We are still looking at deals on helping startups, but not more on the capital side. I think what we are seeing is helping startups create solutions and products which solve real problems in current situation and in the forecasted situation. Thank you. I think that's.
Thank you, Ashish. And Sierra?
As we've seen in what IMF chief economist Geeta Gopinath has called our era, the great lockdown, I think we will see investment centered around food technology, gaming, fitness, and telemedicine startups. In medtech specifically, I think robotic applications to explore the future of medicine will be of great interest, especially those related to diagnosis, telemedicine, and rehabilitation. Definitely in Q1 of 2020, we have seen startups such as Keep Fitness raise 80 million at 1 billion valuation, and Clear Labs, a biotech startup that analyzes food safety at the molecular level, raised 18 million. And telehealth startup AMWell raised 134 million. So despite that, in the global investment in health and biotech overall had a significant drop in funding, I think telehealth deals have doubled in the first quarter of 2020, just from quarter 4 of 2019. I also think another sector that we find compelling are biotech companies that specialize in water waste recycling. One of the underrated projects that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation invested in more than a decade ago was recycling wastewater, especially in the development of high-tech toilets. And one of the biotech companies my colleague works with is based in Africa in the treatment of wastewater and distribution of water. Obviously, water is one of our greatest resources, and the companies that are able to successfully recycle wastewater for mass distribution, I think, will dominate this sector. Another sector, as I think Ms. Telly mentioned, is in decentralizing medical data. Often databases are not connected, and it might be difficult to transfer medical information from one location to another, even in the same state in the United States. And I think companies that are able to utilize biometric data in order to immediately access medical information will become the future of how we actually access data. Currently, with companies such as Twitter and Facebook leading the trend in remote work and allowing their employees to work from home permanently, I think in this great lockdown and even in the post-COVID-19 era, investments in these sectors will continue to have a rising trend.
Thank you, Sarah. And John?
Thank you. I think the biggest things that we're seeing is obviously if you've invested in companies that are in a sales cycle, that's actually a bit of a sticky thing at the minute. So I think a lot of firms are really putting a lot of resource in to try to help these companies kind of bridge the gap before they can obviously get back into a sales cycle or to do something different in the company. So we're seeing quite a lot of work in that area. But where we see some quite interesting things is, as Sienna pointed out, there are lots of investments currently happening in fitness, in food, and in gaming. But from a healthcare perspective, if you think of that, all of those things do have application across healthcare as a whole. And I think the biggest thing that this pandemic is actually highlighting is the fact that we all as citizens want and demand very high quality healthcare. And one of the underpinning facets of that, which was mentioned by many of the panelists, is the fact that data is at the heart of all of this, all of the different choices that we make and all of the choices that our healthcare practitioners make for us. And so being able to bridge that gap between things that are collected on our Fitbits, data that's collected at GP surgeries, or data that's collected at a cancer clinic, how can all of that come together to actually provide a more seam-free solution? And many people in healthcare systems often say, I want to solve a problem. I don't want you to give me a new problem. And so the problems that are needing to be solved today need to be COVID-proof. So we're seeing investments in things that aren't just going to be around for the next 6 to 12 months, but they're actually going to be here for the long haul. And again, this comes into the things that are usually actually not that sexy, unfortunately. So I always refer to it as the plumbing. So how do you actually build data lakes? How do you build various ways to federate data? How do you do that kind of stuff? And it sounds very boring on the outside because you don't see a widget or a gadget or something quite fun. But actually, those are the things that are really going to catalyze and change the way that healthcare needs to be delivered going forward. So it's quite refreshing to see that citizens are taking a slightly different approach on data access, and data sharing, which is actually going to fuel these companies that actually have these really great ideas. And I think we're also seeing a lot of companies that have great solutions in a different sector realize that it's hugely applicable to the healthcare sector, and they can actually pivot into that quite easily. So these companies that have done various aspects of remote monitoring, not necessarily for people, not necessarily for gait analysis or various things like that, but they were doing it for a completely different sector, they can now actually turn that innovation into the healthcare sector without actually differentiating much in their company. So they are also COVID-proof in the sense that while they have a sales cycle for the product, they can actually repurpose that in a slightly different way and sell it into a different environment. So we're trying to support as many companies as possible that are trying to look under the hood and try to see how they can actually change some of the plumbing, if you will, to be able to make some innovations actually last for the long term. Very well aware of the fact that we are in a pandemic and we do need to be addressing some of those issues today,
But for the companies that are starting today, unless they had a proof of concept, it's actually quite challenging for them to get up and running straight away. So we're spending a lot of time on helping those companies that have a larger perspective with respect to looking down the line a little bit longer and helping them to actually get their products and services ready to be able to be launched into the market. And again, going back to what colleagues in the panel were saying previously, we need to think about this as global. We can't think about this as small healthcare systems around the world trying to tackle it, or small pockets of America or small pockets of Europe. This has to be thought of as a global challenge. And yes, many of the small companies that we work with obviously have a very pointed solution, but how can we, and I think the responsibility does lie on us, how can we have better relationships and collaborations with others that can actually help us get those products or services transferred to different parts of the world? So I think that what we're seeing is a slightly different approach, both from investors wanting to look at that value add, that pipeline in a slightly different way, and also supporting companies that are actually looking post-COVID and also looking at doing a little bit of the heavy lifting and perhaps the non-sexy projects that are actually going to revolutionize healthcare the way that it is needed.
Thank you, John. And Neha?
Yeah, hi, thank you. And thanks for everyone for their comments. So I guess in terms of the question of recent investments and changes, I'm going to answer the question from sort of two angles. One, from sort of a healthcare industry perspective. We've been focusing on health for a long time now, as well as sort of other areas of well-being. And I'd say that actually the conversation in healthcare, both from a regulatory perspective as well as on the ground, has probably been accelerated by about 5 to 10 years. I think, there's been a big push for telemedicine in the last few years, but adoption and stickiness has been a huge issue. Whereas overnight, everywhere has had to adopt it. Patients have had to learn to use it. Doctors have had to learn to use it and be okay with it. Do I think it's going to be the future? I'm still hesitant. And that's only because there's only so much a doctor can actually do over video. You still need to touch the patient, you still need to take tests, you still need to examine them. And I think what's going to be interesting is what's going to land once all of this sort of dust settles post-COVID is really what a patient's going to be comfortable with and how do you get the best outcomes for patients. A cancer patient still needs to be seen. People with blood pressure issues, monitoring issues still need to be seen somehow. And so I personally think this is where technology could come in. I think technology could remote monitoring, so moving care out of hospitals into the patient's home, removing care from hospitals to patients' phones, to community clinics, or out of even community clinics to homes. And I think that's the trend that I personally think will come moving forward. I think regulatory agencies and stakeholders will also have to have that honest conversation, which perhaps previously they had been resistant to have, or at least slow to adopt. I think adoption and stickiness are going to be the key for a lot of these technologies. From a biotech world, it's already been touched on some of the points that it's very capital intensive. And that's going to be a slightly tougher one. I don't think investments are going to slow. We will always need therapies, we'll always need diagnostics. What may change is the speed of discovery. I mean, if we can get a vaccine out for COVID in less than a year, that's groundbreaking. Ebola took much longer than that. Vaccines traditionally can take up to 10 years to get to market. And if we can get a vaccine in COVID in less than a year, then that's going to change the conversation globally. To points that I've made earlier about collaboration, yes, I think investors and healthcare industry can come much closer together. It's traditionally been one of the last industries to be disrupted, or at least slowest to take it on. So from an investment strategy point of view, we have over 200 healthcare companies, including life sciences, diagnostics, all the way through to digital health. We also have food and drink and nutrition and alternative proteins, and water and education, but particularly in our health. I apologize for the noise. That was a little bit unexpected. We've actually seen 23 up rounds in sort of Series B and C, and we invest at the early stage. We invest sort of pre-seed up to Series A, and particularly in healthcare companies that have been innovative and got business models that will withstand the COVID crisis. I think that was a point that was made previously, that it's not just a short-lived strategy, it's a strategy that has foresight and will sort of manage patients moving beyond COVID. Those are the ones that have gone on to raise Series B, Series Cs, and have had the over 100 million valuations. I definitely think this is a place. I think fitness and wellness is suddenly going to become a hot topic. My only concern is, will there be a buying frenzy, and will that drive valuations up? And then there'll be a downturn because actually it was everyone just sort of acting more out of fear and not really looking at the tech and the science. But that's yet to be answered. But I think we should watch it closely. And actually, in terms of investments, we've made 5 deals in the COVID era, not necessarily COVID focused, but we've seen really strong startups rise to the occasion, and perhaps the weaker business model startups or the weaker founders have sort of taken a break, taken a stopgap. And so actually the quality of startups in terms of investments for us has been incredibly high. And that's ranging from the US, Europe, and Asia, not just in one particular continent. And one last point, I think the way that the industry is going in Asia versus the US is also very, very interesting. I think insurance has a big place, and they've been a lot more innovative in the Asia region, and in the US, it's just been very interesting. There's been a lot of noise, but there's been slower uptake in Europe. But again, I think that's going to change in the next few months, and it will be one to watch. So yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Neha. And we just have a final highlight before we go to pitch competition. Just a couple of key advice from your side, maybe for the projects in terms of how to make successful pivot in the current environment, and for investors for successful investment process. So just in a couple of highlights, probably Max, could you share?
In terms of I can talk for myself. In terms of pivot as an investor, it's pretty much where the market is trending for the next at least 5 years, which is the time frame for me to get out if I want and if I need. And of course, we live in a tech era, and there is nothing to do. The next 10 years will be all related to tech, and if you are not involved, you are not enabling your business with technology, we are probably almost dead. Actually, without almost. And so I'm not going to change my view on investments, absolutely not. We already have very clear view for the next 5 years, where, as I said before, we very much believe that investing in healthcare, and especially in medtech, and any kind of medicine can be enabled by technology and be cheaper and easier to use and reach everyone in a very short time. And also education. We do believe education is something that has to be addressed much more than is done so far. And for the next 10 years, I do believe this is sectors that has to go. Now, how much is going to be the market and so on, the valuation is something we're still understanding. And I love fitness, so I always look fitness because it's been my life since I was a teenager. And in terms of startup, again, for me, I do believe venture capital is a cash game, and there's nothing to do. When I talk to a lot of guys and colleagues, whoever said to me, okay, you can actually run a company with a small amount of cash. I said, I don't know, I'm very concerned when it comes to this kind of stuff. We have, it's pretty clear that I don't think founders in the US are much smarter than the founders in Europe. Absolutely, I don't believe so. I do believe that when you have 100, 200, 300 billion in your account, you can make a lot of mistakes. Amazon has been a disaster, but now it's the biggest company in the world. The Uber has been and still a disaster in terms of cash flow. WeWork, it's better to not mention. But we are talking about guys who have billions to spend. How to compete when you have so much money? You don't have this level of amount of money. Can technology and can your ability overcome? I don't think so. I'm very honest. I don't think so. And so, but if you have enough cash, and probably many startups, they don't have so much cash disposable. You need to very much focus on be very meticulous how you spend the money. For any penny you're spending, get at least 5 times back.
Thank you. And Telly?
Thanks. Well, for us, just to echo what my colleagues are saying, opportunity in medtech is really significant. For us, it's medtech, insurtech. An area that people don't really look at is really regtech, because we're really transforming, looking at opportunities in the transformation of a traditional health sector that is really heavily regulated. So that means there's going to be a heavier emphasis on data protection, and being able to maneuver between data protection and sharing is going to be an area of focus. So technologies around that area will definitely be something that would grow and is critically important. Infrastructure, I think I heard from our colleague in India that says, you know, one of the things of reaching the last mile is the infrastructure. So there is going to be an opportunity in terms of supporting the actual backbone that provides internet access. So innovations around there is something we're looking at. We're also looking at innovations around infrastructure, another layer of infrastructure, such as the cloud, as well as security. So because we also dabble into digital assets, we're also looking at custodial solutions, because definitely custodial digital custody solutions merged with healthcare can actually provide extremely secure data protection. So these are areas we're looking at. On the area of fitness, I think there's just been a lot of proliferation of startups in that space, but we find there's going to be a growing opportunity for biohacking. So this is an emerging trend, and we're looking at startups that are kind of doing things differently. Digital health, but also specifically focused on medical devices and digital health devices, especially for not just preventative care, but for personal patient managed care, is something that is growing. We've already seen existing companies who already had proof of concepts pretty much are doing pretty well right now. Things around trust is also another thing. Issuance of certificates around your health status, if you've taken a COVID test, and if you're free, because in the region where we focused heavily on tourism, so you're going to find that people are going to have to travel with their digital health certificates now, and being able to prove it. So pretty much along the value chain, I would agree with Massimiliano in terms of education. In order to facilitate any transformation, education is going to be a big area of opportunity. So we're looking at startups supporting education from this perspective of the adoption of these technologies, and also from the perspective of on the finance side, in terms of, you know, the insurance type of solutions and other types of pipelines. So it is a wide area. I must say it is going to be a whole new value chain, but it's a value chain of opportunities that can definitely allow them. So my last thing is, my advice really is really looking at those industries that were pretty much extremely high touch and kind of moving them into a more remote, low touch space. So those are the opportunities we kind of look at as part of our thesis. And of course, financial infrastructure.
Thank you. And we go to our next session of pitch competition. Badi, are you ready?
I am. Can you see me?
Yes. Yeah. Could you turn on the camera? Okay.
There we go.
So you have your 5 minutes to go with Start sharing.
All right, let me share my screen right now. Hold on 1 second. The name of our company is SableAssent Coin Corporation. And I'm just going to go through a couple of slides. And first of all, I'd like to say thank you for the panel. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to present LA Token. We're going to be a part of LA Token on June 15th, so this is very exciting for us. So I'm just going to go through a couple of slides. So one of the problems, well, let's start with the problem. The problem with Black Americans and global Black communities. Globally, Black have the highest population of unbanked. Black Americans have the lowest capitalized business funding. Black communities have the lowest amount of currency circulation than any other ethnicity. So what our goal of SableAssent Coin Corporation is to give the global Black community a way to transfer money, give them solutions to banking, give them solutions to a lot of the things that no one has ever done. So our first solution is to provide a digital wallet system built on blockchain technology and an API for Black businesses so they can transact amongst each other. One of the issues is inside the Black community globally, we have the lowest amount of currency circulation. So amongst our population, our businesses and consumers, once they spend money, it leaves the ecosystem. So we designed an API for Black business so we can circulate that money. SableAssent is a global online platform that creates opportunities in exchange for stablecoin in global Black communities. One of the things that we're doing is on a grassroots level, we're going into communities, going to nonprofits, going to reach out to all forms of entities and allow them to use our coin and circulate our coin amongst. Our emphasis is positioning our token in major Black communities and countries, creating an elective economic system of employment, generating liquidity of all products and services. As you know, a lot of countries around the world have a lot of resources. They have a lot of minerals, a lot of tools, a lot of things, but they're not able to transact. They're not able to move currency. So one of the things that our focus is to allow them to move currency. So let's talk about the strength of the Black American and African markets. You can kind of see right here. In 1999, 1.5 trillion, but currently the Black population around the globe is spending $5.3 trillion. But that's not reflected when you look at investment, when you look at business ownership. It's not reflected in the amount of things that production. So what our company's goal is let's try to help the Black population around the world circulate that money and bring that money back, create opportunities for Black investors, create opportunities for businesses, create opportunities for education and so forth. Our business model, we are launching the SAC1, which is a digital currency on LA Token, June 15th. And the other aspect of our business model is the SAC wallet and prepaid debit card that transacts with an API, okay, that we're using with our Black business owners. How does technology solve problems? SAC1 is a digital token, a blockchain that will be available to exchange on all platforms and all websites. The SAC wallet, okay, is going to be used by business owners. And one of the distinct features about our wallet system is it will allow Black business owners around the world to find each other. So there's a registry. So when someone goes on our website, someone has a wallet, they can register their business and they can search and they find other businesses that are synergistic with their business in order to find them anywhere around the globe, and they can transact with each other inside of our digital wallets. And what happens is our API is designed to create circulation in our global ecosystem, allow Black businesses to accept our currency. Other tokens and other platforms, obviously there's Bitcoin, there's other Black currencies out there, Acoin in Africa. Probably our biggest competitor is PayPal, a payment remittance company, because that's what SableAssent is that we're a company that transfers income back and forth around the world. I have a story for you. About 2 weeks ago, my business partner needed to send money to a family in Jamaica, and it took him literally 3 hours to find somewhere that he could send the money to Jamaica. And you talk about old systems that are archaic, that need to be disrupted. It's so hard to send money to certain areas of the world. And what our system will do is we're just going to make that a lot easier, like streamline and make that a lot smoother. Why we're better with token exchange with other tokens of all rights and services, Black community. One of the things that we're going to do is we're donating 2% of all corporate profits to nonprofits. Inside of the wallet system, nonprofits can also sign up for free, and they can link and connect themselves with other businesses to get donations, to get notoriety, and so forth. Our marketing plan, we have a 12 and 12 global mission, in which we are going to go to countries, talk about the mission. We have hundreds of businesses that are on board with already. The National Chain of Black Commerce has 100,000 businesses in its directory. They have agreed to work with this to implement loan strategies, to implement distribution of currency inside of their businesses, companies like Hype Magazine. One of the things we're doing, we have a social media campaign going out where we have over 10 million followers, as far as with our businesses that have agreed to work with us, distribute to their population of people who are on Instagram. Moving forward, we're launching our API to connect business on the globe in about 6 months. We have an affiliate program that we're launching in historically Black colleges. We have global partnerships, token ambassadors in each country, which our reach is up to 250 million. And like I said, our first launch is going to be June 15th on LA Token. This is our core team. We have individuals with years of professional background, IT, leadership, blockchain technology. I can talk about this page for 20 minutes itself, but just wanted to show you. We just don't talk about it. We have gone around the world and we have met with tons of people all over the world and spoke at conventions. And this is my business partner and CEO of the company, Daryl Speaks. He spoke at the UN about implementing blockchain technology. So we're not just out here and just launching this company, but we have gone on a grassroots level and really talk the message around to big businesses, small businesses around the globe. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Badi. And we move to our next project, is Saiful. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Can you see my deck? Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you, but
we don't. You don't see my deck?
Could you please share?
Sorry, I need to share the screen. Let me share the screen. Okay. You see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. My name is Dr. Saiful Khandaker. I'm the founder and CEO of Fama. Fama is a global digital payments platform. We're based in, our headquarters is in Pennsylvania. And we have a subsidiary company in India and a subsidiary company in Bangladesh and a subsidiary in UK. We're a global payment network. The problem with sending money, cross-border payments, is still a problem. It takes a 3 to 8% fee to send money from one country to another country, especially from, let's say, US or Europe or Middle East. And the problem, there are places where people have to go to the retail store or agent location to send money. And also there is a problem with the speed, how fast the money could go to another country. Our solutions, we have created a mobile wallet, which includes local payments, local P2P payments, and international remittance and loyalty, and also a white label platform. Companies like PayPal, they have bought Venmo, Zoom, and Paytm to achieve what we have from the single platform, which is going to help us to give a better user experience, also better upgrade and addition in the future. The results, we are live in the United States. Currently, we're doing P2P in the United States, sending money from one phone to another phone, and also sending a remittance from US to Bangladesh. Because originally I was from Bangladesh, so I have a lot of connection in Bangladesh. And also making the QR code payments in the US and sending airtime to 195 countries. We have 10,000 consumers download. And we have 30 money agents in New York sending 30 million a year to Bangladesh. How it works, consumers sign up, they link their bank account, and they add the beneficiary. The beneficiary could be in the US or Bangladesh. Right now, international, we are doing Bangladesh only, but within the United States, anyone can send to anyone, and then they can choose the amount. Competition, we see the competition with PayPal and Alipay. Alipay is a better competitor because Alipay is going global. They're building networks in different countries across the globe. PayPal is in the US big, but they really are not in different countries. For example, they are not in India, they're not in Bangladesh, they're not in Middle East, but we want to be everywhere. And timeline to success, we started the company in 2016. We designed the platform. 2018, we received a sponsorship from a US federal chartered bank. We received investment from a New York City venture capital. We formed a partnership in Bangladesh, one of the largest national banks. And we went live and we have the 10,000 customer. Business model, we make money from every transaction, $2 to $5. We make a margin from the foreign exchange, 2% markup on money transfer. Selling airtime, we make 10%. Merchant pay, we charge 2% processing. We are adding e-gift card, which will charge 5%, and deals 10%. Total available market remittance is a $650 billion market. Mobile payments, $1 trillion. Global business payment is 30 billion. Sorry. We are looking to raise a 5 million additional fund to expand our company in and buying a small bank in the United States, buying a small bank in Lithuania, and developing some new services products. Roadmap for next 5 years. We want to launch this in Bangladesh. We have a joint venture agreement with the national bank, largest national bank. We're targeting 20 million download in Bangladesh. And then we'll launch this in EU countries, Canada, Malaysia, Singapore, and then Middle East countries. And also we'll be launching Remit, is a blockchain platform that will have a borderless account. At the same time, we'll create an exchange platform in blockchain to settlement. And these are the 3-4 products in our pipeline. The team, I'm the founder and CEO. My experience, I'm a software engineer. I have a master's degree in computer science and my bachelor's degree and PhD in business. I've been in the industry for 25 years, worked for Fortune 100 companies in the US. And last 10 years, I've been involved in the blockchain, fintech companies. Alan is our director. He's an ex-Federal Reserve attorney. Michael was my college friend. He's an ex-Federal Reserve director of IT. Hossein is in our CEO for Middle East. We have a global management team. We have a CEO in Fama in UK, and our software development and our team is in India. Board of directors, myself the chairman, Gaurav, he represents the VC, Rabiul and Hassan, they are all angel investors. Board of advisors, Suchitra, she's our bank partner, president. David, he's an ex-PayPal director in UK. J. Abraham, legendary coach, speaker. Richard, fintech expert. Financial forecast, we're looking this year about 2 million revenue, and by 5 years, we're looking 200 million revenue. Exit strategy, we're looking to go NASDAQ or be acquired by somebody. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So I will continue with the Q&A session with our investor panel. So Sierra, do you have any feedback on today's projects?
All right, so I have questions for both Mr. Oliver and Mr. Khandaker. So Mr. Oliver, I'm wondering, for your business, are you creating a kind of credit union for sort of exclusively the other Black businesses using your stablecoin? And how does it differ from sort of a credit union, I'm wondering?
That's a great comparison. Actually, our business model does have aspects of a credit union where a business owner will have that opportunity to get funding for projects that a bank might not want to touch. So yes, it is kind of like a credit union in that aspect, but also it's a little bit more than I would say just your average credit union. When I think of credit unions, I think of kind of localized entities. When I see our company, it's a little bit more, I would say, expansive. But as far as that level of touch, that level of impact in the community, I would agree 100%. Like a lot like a credit union, where it has that level of touch, that level of connectivity, that level of wanting to have that touch projects that maybe the traditional bank won't want to touch and so forth. So I would agree.
All right, thank you for clarifying that. And for Dr. Khandaker, I'm wondering, are you just, how do you differ from PayPal? Are you just creating a PayPal in India?
Right, yes. Yes, we are, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, so yes, we are creating the network. So our next launch is in Bangladesh, which is the largest 160 million people, where they will be able to create the Fama Cash account. And so then from US to Bangladesh, it will be seamless. Sending money from US to Bangladesh is a wallet-to-wallet transfer just with a single click. So the PayPal does not exist in Bangladesh, and people cannot create PayPal account in Bangladesh. So that's just one example. There are many, many countries in the world that PayPal, you cannot create PayPal account. And PayPal, the fees are too much. And so we want to democratize that. We want to make it seamless and available in different countries where they can create an account and then they can send it to each other.
Thank you. Anndy?
Hi, I have a question for the first presentation. I wasn't very clear. You kind of skimmed through your team, but I wasn't really clear on the experience of your team. What experience does your team have in the area of banking? I didn't see any explanation or a person who's responsible for actual transformation. And how are you going to deal with people adopting? Also, in your pitch, you never mentioned guap, because you're very close to guap coin.
Great question. First, I'll talk about the team. My CEO and founder, his background is he was the president of the NAACP for the southern region of South Florida. So he's coming from the standpoint of really giving back to the community. That's the whole emphasis of a foundation of SableAssent Corporation. Now, as far as the other members of the team dealing with blockchain technology, our lead tech has 5 years in the technical space. He has multitude of tech certifications. Our other lead tech, Melba, she has over 15 years experience, and she's worked for Fortune 500 companies. Also, our influencers, we saw AJ, he deals with, he has talk shows where he has a reach of over 100,000 people that are globally in 5 countries. Myself, I have a series of financial licenses in the financial area. I also have a tech background myself. So as far as the team, we have all of that covered as far as different aspects of the financial being. Now, adoption, I want to talk to our goal is to adopt on a grassroots level. We have token ambassadors in a multitude of countries around the world. We have token ambassadors, meaning we have people on the ground who are going to move the project forward, who have already bought in. We have a partnership with the National Black Chamber, which has over 100,000 businesses that have agreed to work in one-on-one partnership with us to create an adoption period so we can have that business ecosystem and we can allow businesses to transact and so forth. We also have partnerships in Africa. We have partnerships around the world that I didn't have the chance to speak because it's only 5 minutes. That will give us that opportunity to use our stablecoin, SAC1. Now, the last question was dealing with Guapcoin. Guapcoin, I see them in the marketplace. I really don't. I knew they launched about a year or two ago. I really don't follow them that well. So from an adoption standpoint, I don't know if their focus is the same focus as ours. So The one thing I want to talk about too is the market is massive. There could probably be 25 coins focused in that specific area. So when you talk about market penetration, there could be another 15 companies that want to do the same thing, and we all could have success. It's just a massive market that's really been untapped that, you know, it's just, the market's too huge. So it's just, you know, not a lot of companies are wanting to tackle that space yet. So I don't really see them as competition. I really see it more as cooperation where we could work with each other, because our coin is used to work with other coins. So it'll work itself out. Thank you for the question. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And Dieter?
Yeah. Thanks again for the two pitches. I like them both. Our fund, beside healthcare, we think blockchain will play a big and important role in the future of fintech. So we have done some investment in fintech. We invested in a company called Mercury Cash based in Miami and Orlando, focusing on crypto trading on it's a platform for Latin America and South American population. And we invested in an online bank called the Medici Bank, which will more or less have the same business model like what Fama Cash is doing. My response is, you mentioned some competitors in your list, Fama Cash. Have you heard about TransferWise, 5-time unicorn out of London? Have you heard about Revolut, 5-time unicorn out of London? Have you heard about N26 coming out of Germany, now with more than 100 people in New York, and they are exactly looking and are in this space. So I use both. When I transfer money to whatever, Singapore in the local currency, I can transfer money between US and UK or India or whatever for much lower and much faster than with any global bank. They're already in the market. So before you look into this, please look at this potential competitors. Not only mention Google Pay and Apple Pay. There's a lot of crowded companies there who have raised hundreds of $1 million. TransferWise, by the way, the US headquarters in Tampa here, they had more than 200 people already. That was my recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And Ashish?
Yeah, I just had a similar question to what Dieter had. I think, Dr. Saiful, if you're thinking, you mentioned about India expanding to India, I think one competition to look out will be Paytm. I think Paytm is grown fairly large for peer-to-peer and both for retail. And they're going to, and then the other being Geocache, which is coming up very recently with Reliance. It's going to be a Facebook investment too. So these are some of the interesting competition to look out for and learning from them. I think for cross-border, I think players like Ripple should be very interesting to have a look because they're doing fairly well cross-border in India and globally at very, very low cost and very fast.
Can I answer?
Sure, please go ahead.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, so first of all, Mr. Dater from Florida, he said about all these companies, Revolut and TransferWise. I am familiar with all of them. I know the guys who started Revolut and TransferWise. I know World Remitly, you know, all these companies, they have raised huge money, 200 million, 300 million. And I know the Paytm also in India. And obviously India, we're not looking to go to India right away because it's going to take, $1 billion investment to really reach the market in India, where Paytm is a huge, big. So we will be looking to that in the later stage. We have already we have 100 million commitment from a major investor that are waiting for us to go a little bit far. We have a commitment letter from him. So right now we are just focusing Bangladesh is 20 million target customers. And if, the 20 million customer, they will be the difference between TransferWise and us or Revolut us. We are going in a different approach. We're first starting with the P2P and QR code payments. Also, same time we're doing international. For example, TransferWise is not available in different countries where you can download TransferWise and pay a merchant, or you can pay somebody within the country. TransferWise is more like from one way shooting out, but we want to be interoperable in different countries. So it's kind of a concept of, you can say, it's a one app for global. Not only that, also we're tying into the retail payments and solving the merchants' high cost processing of the credit card. So we are also looking at post credit card payment system. So there are huge strategy behind it, and I've been involved in this industry for especially for remittance and fintech for last 10 years. And I read everything. I went to a lot of different conferences. I know exactly what's going on with all this N26, all the digital bank that you're talking about, Monjo and Azimo, all of those. So we're trying to make it, we're taking an approach in one country at a time. So we're live in the US now. We're launching in Bangladesh. We have a national bank, which has the largest national bank, which is second to the Central Bank of Bangladesh. And we also get the endorsement from the Ministry of Finance in Bangladesh. And with this pandemic, Bangladesh market grew like many-fold, all the wallet, because people cannot move, so they need to send money to each other for payments. And the government also pushing the stimulus $10 billion fund. And so all the companies like the new digital payment company, Nagad, they just grew like 20 million customers all over overnight. So there are a lot of opportunity for this. And also the connecting, we are also planning to connect with all the different wallets. So let's say US Fama Cash will be connecting with the Paytms. We can connect with the Alipay, WeChat. We can connect with the global wallet. So our goal is to reach 5 billion people into a very secured and very cost-efficient manner. And in the future, we want to make it an instant transfer where we'll eliminate all the pre-funded needs for the current remittance companies. So there are a whole lot of things going on. We have just engaged an investment banker from Silicon Valley to raise 15 million. And we're also got endorsement to go IPO, early stage IPO, so that we can get those capital. And I agree with this person said, you need people, good people and capital. You have good people, no capital, you cannot do anything. And you have good people, no capital, you cannot do anything. So we need both. Thank you.
Okay, Telly, you want to comment as well?
Yes, this is for Saiful. I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly. Well, congratulations on your traction for Fama Cash. You're definitely solving a big pain. I have experience in payment innovation, so I know it's not an easy feat. However, as my colleagues have mentioned, there are other startups in this space, and for the most part, a lot of them are doing what you're doing and have even innovated on it. So my comment would also be for you to really look at the different models my colleagues have shared. Also look at models like ADN as well. The other thing you mentioned heavily in your discussion is the whole issue of interoperability. I'd like to have a better, clear sense of how you're addressing interoperability, one. And also, you mentioned in your timeline, you'll be incorporating the blockchain. Can you explain how that is going to happen now? Because in reality, the landscape for payments has changed drastically. They have a lot new payment rails and also payment rails that have incorporated interoperability between blockchain as well as fiat. So how are you going to address that, and then my last thing is on the issue of regulations, especially in the US, how were you able to navigate that? And what are the what are the areas you still have to iron out? Thanks.
Yeah, you are right on the mark that, first of all, interoperability. For example, in Bangladesh, Fama Cash, we are launching next month, where the user, they will be able to send money from Fama Cash to other wallets. So they will be able to send to Bcash wallet, which has a 40 million user. They will be able to send it to the Nagad wallet, 20 million users, and the Rocket, 7 million. So in a sense, we are saying that you can send from your bank account to all this wallet. Not only that, you can use your wallet in our app, your Bcash account money balance, you can use your Nagad wallet balance. So in this sense, sourcing of the fund, you can have all the wallets linked. And sending, you can have all the wallet where you want to send it to. So that's in Bangladesh. And we can take that approach. Right now, we're discussing with somebody from Africa. We want to make it interoperable between all those countries. I don't know anything about Africa because I've never been there. But there is an opportunity to work with Kenya and Tanzania, all these certain countries together. So, this app you can use it and you can send it, and other apps. We can integrate with M-Pesa and all of those things. So that's how interoperability is going to work. And for the regulation, it's very tough. It's very difficult to really manage the regulation. That's why we need to get some banking license under our belt. I would be very interested with this gentleman who has this online banking license. We need some licensing agreement. I'm looking to acquire my own license also, because the licensing is needed and we want to be compliant. So right now we are licensed through a bank in the US. Also, we are getting a license sponsor with another company. It's a multi-billion-dollar company that has 40 country license. So they're going to be endorsing us with the license, and they're going to provide us the ACH banking connectivity. All we need to push the product out and send it to all the distribution countries. And we are working with the new blockchain platform, which is going to be borderless account. Right now, we're looking to we are looking another blockchain technology to implement our remit, because I was going to build out the remit from the ground up, because right now I have the company, the bank in Bangladesh, which is a national bank with 1,200 branches. So I want to get the pilot from US bank to the Bangladesh bank on the blockchain ledger, and I want to bring all the bank, so everybody's in one ledger. Right now there are like 4 or 5 steps to send money to the bank partners, right? From our US bank, our cash account, we send it to that Bangladesh bank in New York, their account, they transfer to Bangladesh, then money is distributed. So what if we put all this in one ledger, so all the accounts transaction is created, as soon as the transaction is written, they know that I get the money, the bank get the money, and everything transferred, all the settlement is done. So doing that, I want to also create a settlement platform with the pilot of these 2 countries and then expand from there.
Okay,
Thank you. And
Okay,
John,
thank you. And John,
do you have feedback?
No, I actually have to leave very quickly, and this is my expertise is healthcare more so than it is this.
Thank you. And Anndy?
Hi, I'm sorry. Can you hear me? I just want to say this in general because I've seen very similar projects that are around. I've seen the same pitching for almost a few hundred times, for the past year. And if you look at the general condition and the general business sense, a lot of business with these similar concepts, they fail. Right now we ignore the fact about the team members and how much they want to raise. And of course, in terms of the technology-wise, I think it's a no-brainer. It's all doable. But the kind of money that you need to acquire a customer, you need to acquire a market, is extremely extensive. $5 million is not enough. I'm not sure about the first company, how much they want to raise. But I just want to go back to the first talk that I gave. We got to be very realistic. It's good to be comparing with big boys like PayPal. Just for info, I'm quite active in the Bangladesh and in India, Sri Lanka area. I think, if I'm not wrong, PayPal can receive funds. And then, like the gentleman in London has mentioned, transfer-wise, I think they have a very good footprint, and their fees are quite low at 0.7%, if I'm not wrong. So coming back to the fact as a startup, I think right now is the best time for you to collaborate. Be a layer on top of all these existing big boys and give them the business. You take a smaller cut. This thing works very well with WeChat. Right at the very beginning, my company did a lot of things for WeChat in Malaysia and Singapore. They want to capture the market. So at the end, their strategy is very simple. They capture the whole of Malaysia market. They get a lot of resellers, a lot of a separate layer company like a vendor to help them to grow their business. And some of these so-called small companies has already reached a valuation of about 100 mil in Malaysia. So we just got to be very careful, in terms of how you want to expand your footprint. Because as an investor myself right now, I just find that it's not exactly very feasible. And another comment that I want to put through is that, if there's no need to have any cryptocurrency, or there's no need to have any blockchain to burden your current business model, don't do it, man. Because that is not going to help you in terms of getting money, because investors that are very much into the space, they will have a lot of questions like, why not I just use XRP? That's going to solve all my issues. Why am I going to use another startup payment? And it might not be that reliable. Other issues like liquidity issues, users issue, custodian issues, license issues. There's a very long list of things that you need to do for, especially for the second project. So my very, very sound advice is that don't just talk. You got to just launch it. And if your dream is way too big, I think it's very hard for a lot of investors to swallow this, because after a while, people who are investing in Bangladesh, they may not know actually how the whole space is like. Once they know how the whole space is like, they would really think otherwise. So work through your dreams in small packet, and then if you can make it work in Bangladesh, that would be great. You can make it work in for the Black community, I think is good. But take step by step. And my very last comment is that if you are going to raise money through cryptocurrency or through some form of fundraise, I think it's going to be very tough, because if you look around left and right, there are many similar projects that promise almost the same thing, and they might be talking about changing the whole world, so forth and so on. But most of them, as in maybe 90% of them, fail. So I hope you can size up your this whole business model, and that could work for the short run as a start.
Yeah, Andy, I appreciate your comments. These are very valid comments. And I am also familiar with a lot of companies, startups in my space. And I can tell you, like you said, 99% of them will not survive. I know that, because it takes a lot of energy to survive this company. The market is very saturated. So we have a strategy to how to tackle the market. We're also looking to expand into the remittance banking, the migrant workers banking. That's a space that nobody is tapping into, because the banking means like somebody from Bangladesh, he's working in Saudi Arabia. He was working in a farm. So what he does, 75% of his income he spends for his living, and 15% of that income he sends to back home his wife and kids, and 10% he saves under the mattress, so that after 5 years, when he will go back to Bangladesh, he will buy a business with that 10% of savings. So we want to offer them that savings. Why you put it on the mattress? You put it in a nice secured environment where it will grow a little bit, and it will be safe. It's not under the mattress. And we go back, you can avail those. So we are gonna be like connecting all the Bangladesh banks into product portfolio and offering. Already we have a lot of endorsement from the banks that they want to offer the housing loan for the expat Bangladesh. And the Bangladesh community alone is a bigger market. They yearly they send $30 billion to Bangladesh, just the remittance. So we can tap into that. And you said like it will be tough to raise the money. Already raised $5 million, and we have a lot of commitment, and we have a strong strategy. We're not going anywhere, and I agree that market is tough, but you have to have the right strategy. So we are bringing a lot of strategic people in the team globally to make it scale the company. And I know exactly how to approach, and I know it's not going to be easy, and it's not short term, and there we have to be different. We cannot be just like another, TransferWise. We cannot be another, mom and pop Placid Express. We cannot be another, and especially with the, this COVID situation, a lot of this mom and pop wiped out already. The people, the agent-based exchange house, even the big remittance company, Finable, $2 billion company, they kind of fall down. So it's a great way to position our company and take a leap and make it easy. And cryptocurrency, we're not going for any kind of raising money through the cryptocurrency. We're just going to tap into a platform that solves the problem, instant transfer. Right now, you cannot do instant transfer, instant settlement. You cannot do. You mentioned about XRP. XRP, right now, I cannot, as a consumer, you cannot use the XRP. XRP is offered for some trial they are doing with some companies from US to Mexico, and there is a lot of inefficiency there also. Ripple is also struggling a lot of different ways. So we are going to be offering something better than Ripple, and already we have lots of bank partners, especially all the banks in Bangladesh. 56 banks in Bangladesh will be part of our platform, settlement platform, which will be much smoother than Ripple. But again, we have a strategy, and we're not gonna be. I've been here for a long time. I sustained for 10 years on this journey, so I know how to head it through. And obviously, we have to convince somebody who can be seeing this big picture. And I know a lot of people are scared about this space. There are reasons, but there are a lot of opportunity also. There are lots of opportunity in this space. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would also want to reply to the question just briefly. Some of the things that I didn't share also is we're moving also to the banking aspect of it. We have partnerships in banking where we have liquidity in 170 countries also. So we have access to banking product. We have banking products that we're also rolling out with our digital currency, also inside of the SAC wallet with the SEC card, business debit card. Also, from a custodian, we partner with Kingdom Trust as a custodian of digital currency. And I agree full-heartedly. Start small and grow your business from there. One of the things we've gone from a top-down approach. We realize that inside of our community, a lot of large entities have more reach than we do. So through our partnership, we're focusing on the partnerships and bringing in a lot of these large partnerships. And through those partnerships, we're gaining adoption. So the adoption strategy of SableAssent is to partner up with major entities like Black Farmers Association, partner up with the Black Business Chamber, people who have a lot more traction than we do, and use the currency to allow them to do it as they feel they need to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Max, you also wanted to comment?
Yes, very briefly. All my colleagues, they already covered almost everything. I mean, for Badi, for me, as you started this business based on a very kind, addressing a big problem, which means the Black community. And I do believe technology should do what politicians would be never, ever able to do. But because you're addressing this problem, how do you build up community? Because more than partnership, you need community. You need to build up a sense of community where people come to you because they feel everyone be part of the same community. It's not that easy at all. When it comes to Saiful, this is a massive market. P2P and trust is why it's huge. This is why you have so many people and so many companies working and trying to get in. So which means for me, I love dreamers. So you guys are both a very big dreamer because you are targeting a huge market with huge dream. And I'm not here to cut your dream at all. I'm a big dreamer as well. But mean, you have too many issues for me. First of all, license. I mean, you need banking license, which is not that easy at all. I've been working with guys in Africa. They're still coping with the government to have a license since 2 years ago. I mean, if you can get a license, it's a nightmare. You can't deliver anything. So you can have the best business model ever, but you can't do anything because you're not allowed to do. And again, what about value proposition? Because P2P is, again, it's a huge, massive market, but everyone is going there. Revolut, I use Revolut every day in London. They have very well because they're seamless. I mean, it's very without any friction, but they are not covering exactly what they're doing really. Yes, I mean, I think value proposition is very important what they're doing. You start in US, but you want actually to now do in Bangladesh, and I suppose all your revenue market traction comes from US. So you are now applying to Bangladesh what you learned in US, where competition is very high. You are moving to Bangladesh, where competition is very low, probably. And after you need to move back to probably go to India, where the market is huge, because I think it's the proxy to your market, and going on. I mean, it's challenging, and you need a lot of money. I mean, 5 million probably is enough, is nothing. Maybe you can run away for some months, but after, as Andy told you, you need a lot of cash, seriously a lot of cash. I'm not talking about terms of 5, 10 million, you need hundreds of millions. I mean, you're talking about Revolut has 1 billion cash today. I mean, you are competing with this guy. In a very challenging market, you're competing with guys with bank account with billions, not millions. It means it's going to be very difficult because customer acquisition, it's very, very expensive. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sharon?
Yeah, just can I make one comment on that? Is Revolut, you brought in Revolut, but Revolut is not in the US. Revolut is not in Bangladesh. Revolut is not in India. Revolut is not in Middle East. They're not in Africa. So, they have 1 billion, right? If I had 1 billion, I could do 10 times better than Revolut. And we are also going to, it's not like 5 million is enough. 5 million is probably going to last us in our next milestone. So it's like right now, if I go to somebody 100 million, there's an investor, they said, Saiful, I want to see first that you achieve something. So how do I trust that you're going to do these things? You are saying everything. So, you need to show me a little bit more that, okay, you have done this. So this 5 million is going to help me to achieve that. So after 100 million, we are going to be doing such things because we are not going to, I don't want to create a company like Uber. There is no way to sustain Uber. We want to create real business where people are going to really pay you. So we have lots of solutions because I'm a software guy. Our company is a software company. We are not buying a software platform from somebody and we cannot scale. We cannot change it. A lot of companies like that. In Bangladesh, Bcash, they bought it from somebody like Huawei, and they pay 10 million for their mobile apps. And I can develop that mobile app in $50,000 because we're the software company. So we are constantly going to develop other solutions to end-to-end consumer solutions. There is a huge market, untapped market that nobody is tapping beside Western Union. They are doing a little bit of business payment. TransferWise, not doing the cross-border business payments. So there are opportunities if you know this space, and I know the space because I know the top guys, and they're on board with us to come on board. Latin America, Ronaldo. This guy was the founder of Western Union. There's a guy of the co-founder of MoneyGram. There's a guy who's the Finabler in Dubai right now. He wants to coming on board. So we are bringing the technology and the legal aspect. So Federal Reserve banker we brought in. Right now we have the license in Bangladesh through the central bank sponsorship. We have a license in the US, and we are to get a license in Lithuania. It will take 1 year, and it will take only €500,000 to get a brand new license. But I don't have to get a brand license. I can get it in 2 months in Lithuania. There is a credit union in Lithuania wants to sell. Right now I have 10 banks in the US to buy for just $2 million. Even that, I don't want to give 2 million. I can give them $500,000, and I can give them some stock in the company, and I can acquire. I can just acquire 50% of the bank for less than, like around $500,000. And I will have the control on the board. So, we want to create something that is going to be actually used for millions of customers. It's going to help them improve their life, making the fund sending. Still now, right now, myself, if I want to send money right now, it's a hassle. Today, I have to go to either store, the Western Union. There are a lot of checking, and it takes time, 5 days to go over there in Bangladesh if I do a bank transfer. With this central bank, Bangladesh, we're doing instantly, and then there is no pre-fund because we are using API. As soon as we deposit the money in the New York bank, we send a message with the reference number, they check it, they get the money in the New York bank, boom, they release the fund. Other companies, TransferWise, sending to Bangladesh. And PayPal, you mentioned PayPal is in Bangladesh. It's a hoax, it's a misinformation. PayPal was not in Bangladesh. They just did an advertisement, like some country and politician in Bangladesh, because they bought Zoom. PayPal bought Zoom, and Zoom was in Bangladesh, since 2009. It's same like Western Union. They was just send money from US to Bangladesh, and that is nothing new, right? Still now there is 500,000 freelancers. They cannot create PayPal account, or they cannot create any foreign account in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
So
just one question. They are not in Bangladesh.
Oh, I'm
Alibaba payment.
Bcash. They invested 20%.
I can't hear anything. Say again?
Alibaba is not in Bangladesh.
Okay.
They invested the wallet, Bcash wallet, which is the largest wallet. They invested 20% equity in Bcash. So in the future, they have a plan, most likely. Yeah.
Thank you, and Sharon.
Yeah, so I think most of my colleagues have already mentioned a lot of feedback that I wanted to say, and I think they're all pretty much valid. But there's just two key points that I wanted to point out. Is the community and the market. So these are the two areas that I think you guys should really focus on, because this is the area that you understand best, right? If you're talking about Bangladesh or you're talking about the Black community. These are the areas that you guys have initiated and want to focus on. And I think this is where you should really drill down to what you can do for them. And the rest could be your competition. The rest could be, giant companies and things like that. But first and foremost, I think your focus should be on your community and the market space that you're working on. Yeah, that's all for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Telly.
Yes, I would like to comment. Just some takeaways. First and foremost, this is for Badi. I will be the elephant in the room since I'm Black to make a comment with the focus. I understand the needs. The needs are very, very real. But when you're looking at targeting the Black community, just like my colleague said, community goes beyond just, us Black people as a cluster. It goes into really understanding Black behavior. And for one, I know as a fact, when it comes to adoption and adoption of tech, Black people struggle with adoption. And if you had even a simple mobile wallet, maybe, but when you're moving into things like tokens and digital assets, education is key, and I haven't seen that pointedly. Yeah. The other thing is, again, on the community, Black people supporting Black people. That doesn't happen. It's unlike any other community. You find, when Chinese get together, they work together. When Lebanese get together, they work together. But the Black community, in as much as it's nice and great, there's always that level of distrust and so on. So you have to, as my colleague said, drill down deep to see how you can meet them and how you can address that real adoption issue. The other thing is, if you're adding financial services around it, you do need to get a few people who have experience in the space, especially if you kind of mentioned like moving into the banking or the credit union space. I would advise you to get an advisor who's in this space and who has been delivering that. Third thing, I think this is just really key. Black people love branding. If you don't look good, they're not touching it. So my advice is to really get someone who's in the area of brand finance as an advisor to help you with branding. Once you're spot on with branding, then the chances of adoption is much higher. The other thing for both, when it comes to payments, I've been in payments for very long, I can tell you this, it ain't about the tech. The tech's already there, the tech's proven. It's really not about the tech. It's all about the model and all about how you're addressing those pain points. And for the most part, the payment value proposition, we know the issues with cross-border payments. We know it costs a lot of money, et cetera, et cetera. One of the things that's key is usability. The user experience is important, one. Two, it needs to be much more than payments. You're not going to get anyone just adopting just for a payment. They're adopting for something else. So I missed out on, from your both presentations, the opportunity for value add. The other thing too, so many people are in this space. And so you are pretty much in a red ocean. So realistically, a kind of refocus on maybe the infrastructure might be your best bet in terms of winning this game, because it's really, really a red market. But if you're running an infrastructure play, you move faster, much further. Thank you.
I would like to respond. Good, those are great questions. First, I want to talk about the educational aspect of it. One of the things that we're doing in conjunction with the launch of the currency and the digital wallet is we're doing an educational tour. And on that educational tour, what we're doing is we're doing a podcast. And before COVID-19, we were contracted with 10 cities to come in to do a promotional tour. We're also going to go to Jamaica. We're going to educate masses of populations of people, or the cities were contracted to market to the people in disadvantaged areas, the business owners in the community. They were going to come out. And also we had a panel where we're going to sit and we're going to talk to those individuals. So with the spread of COVID-19, that was put on hold. So what we did is we decided to take it digital, and we're going to do a podcast. So one of the things we're doing with the business owners inside of our ecosystem is starting at the end of this month, we're doing a podcast where we're going to highlight 4 to 5 business owners a week, where we're going to talk about what is that adoption strategy in your business. How are you going to make, how are you going to move to the blockchain space? And we're also going to talk about how we can help them move to the blockchain space. How are you going to add cryptocurrency in your business? What is cryptocurrency? So there's going to be a storehouse of information where people are going to be able to look and get that information. And like I said, we're constantly reaching out to people on a high level as far as that implementation strategy into the community. One of the things, our board, we have SEC attorneys on our board also. We have, like I said, in order for us to have a banking relationship, to have a liquidity in 170 countries, there are individuals that have had 20 years of banking. In order for us to have that relationship, they're also on our board, and there are tons of others on our board. So it's not just the people that I showed on the panel. We understand in order to really move the business the way we need to move it, there has to be individuals and a multitude of spaces, because it is very, very, it's a lot going on. Also, I agree, moving into the Black community, there needs to be a face. Also, we do have influencers that are going to be involved in our process to make that activity, to make people want to be involved with the SableAssent project. So I agree with you 100%. We've looked at those aspects, and we're tackling them one day at a time. So I appreciate your comments. Thank you so much.
How much have you raised? Do you mind if I ask? How much have you raised?
As far as raising capital, what we've done is we basically finance the company ourselves through our own personal financial lines, and we have created the wallet, the coin, and all the other aspects, the relationships, the banking relationships, and through the founding members of SableAssent Corporation. So we funded the project ourselves. Is that your question?
Sierra, you also wanted to comment?
Right. So just as a few closing statements, thank you to Mr. Oliver for his presentation, also to Dr. Khandaker. I just want to say that I think that seed funding and early stage funding will significantly decrease in volume, and more investment in companies that have traction with many users and rapid growth will capture the majority of the funding post-COVID. I also think that's where the token could possibly attain a market share with early stage companies or companies seeking seed funding. In particular, back to MedTech, I think a pivot towards personalization is key. Personalized nutrition services and personalized medicine will be the focal area of investment within the next decade, I think. And we've seen companies such as Biome, who raised 82 million in Series C last year, which uses at-home testing kits using microbiome sequencing technology to identify microorganisms in the gut, and provides users with a personalized diet, nutrition, and lifestyle recommendations. And telemedicine will be rapidly moving in this direction as well. In the previous decades, we had the one-size-fits-all approach to medicine, especially for minor health problems, where you essentially physically go to the doctor assesses you for 5 minutes, you receive more or less a similar prescription as another patient based on similar symptoms, and you fill the prescription at the pharmacy. And we saw the rise of minute clinics pop up everywhere due to this. And now I think we're sort of moving away from that model, and our DNA, particular genetic proclivities, our individual microbiome gut data will be analyzed and utilized in more of an integrative model of medicine, where all recommendations will be personalized to the individual. And before the Great Lockdown, we already saw many innovators in this space. And I think, such as personalized immunotherapies in the treatment of diseases as cancer, and even personalized cosmetic dental startups that allow users to straighten their teeth from the comfort of their homes. And despite some initial regulatory problems, I think this will be a trend that will reemerge during and after the Great Lockdown. And as for me personally, I think biotech and medtech startups that can successfully pivot to be able to manage this data and diagnose users from the comfort of their own homes will be essential. And the collection of data, comprehensive data such as genetic information, lifestyle, sleep analysis, in addition to cross-referencing databases that are able to accurately diagnose diseases based on this personalized information, along with overall geographic trends, environmental factors, and drug and supplement interaction will be of the utmost importance in the new era of personalized medicine. So in summary, in the next 10 years, although we are not necessarily replacing the specialist doctor, we are giving doctors more information than what they had previously had in the one-size-fits-all model of medicine, and also enabling users to monitor their own data in the comfort of their homes. And I'm looking forward to many startups who are specializing in the sector. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And our winner for today is Dr. Saiful Khandaker, founder and CEO of Fama Cash. And just a quick round of our today's pitch competition. So how do you find online pitch competitions to pitch your investment process. Just a quick word. Telly?
I think the online pitch competition is actually very. I like it. I like it as a model. It's very to the point, and I think it allows for more feedback and comments than you would a normal, traditional pitch competition. There isn't enough time to really go through it.
Thank you. Anndy?
I think for the pitching, in order to give very good feedback and try to give more help to the companies, I think it would be good if we can stick it with one company, one pitch. That would help us to ask more questions in more detail, and also at the same time help them to realize their dreams, and even at a later stage, help them to find some good investors. Because based on what I see, if the session is too short, it become like a one-way communication, or kind of more defensive. So it would be good if we could have one company, and that would benefit more for the startup.
Thank you, Anndy. And Sharon?
I think the pitch competition online is actually a pretty good model, but like Anndy mentioned, we probably need a bit more time. So if we were to allocate a dedicated time, like let's say an hour and a half or two startups, then I think it would be pretty more useful, and the feedback would be actually better for them. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Sharon. And Sarah?
Right. As for me, I think I like listening to 2 or 3 startups, not just one. However, if we were able to sort of match up startups in the similar sectors, such as medtech for, sort of medtech specialists, and fintech for fintech, I think that would be much more sort of appropriate to be able to sort of give them the feedback that they need. But I don't have any problem with sort of listening to 3 or 4 startups at one time. I think shorter presentations are good, and if we want to follow up, then we can have follow-up sessions, asking them for more detail.
Thank you. Badi, how was the pitch competition for you?
I really like the pitch competition. I guess one of the things that I would like to see is to have feedback. We got that feedback, but I actually have, okay, what were the things maybe written down? What were the things that they liked? What were the things they didn't like? What were the things that they feel that maybe like a survey to send back to the business owner to show them, I think you should work on this. I like this, but I didn't like this. So that's one thing I would like to add to this process.
Thank you, Badi. And Saiful?
Yes, I really enjoyed this conversation. I think it's very appropriate during this COVID time, where I was used to go pitch and face-to-face in the community and investors, but this is a great opportunity to do that, when you cannot go out, to stay at home kind of situation. I'm in Pennsylvania, still stay at home until June 5th. So it's a great, and I also found it very nice that we had open talk, like there was no cutoff time or anything, like you cannot talk more than 30 seconds. So I think it was very well. People had a lot of patience to listen for the last 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So I received lots of great feedback, and I appreciate all of those who gave the feedback about Fama Cash and what to do and what not to do. So I look forward to doing this more in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I thank all our participants for our today's very in-depth discussion, both on the investor side and the startups. And in just half an hour, we'll have a keynote of Matthew Limer, Meet the Blockchain Unicorns. So please join us watching this masterclass, and join our other formats such as roadshows, keynotes, masterclasses, and Startup Leaders Club. So I wish you all the best for the weekend. And we'll see you tomorrow also on the roadshow from Singapore, where we also had Sharon and Anndy participating already. So see you all, and good luck for the week.